The phone that I'm using has 64 GBs of memory. The brain that I'm using has 2.5 million gigabytes of memory. That means 50,000 such phones will actually be equal to my memory. And that's not only true for me, that's also true for anybody who's watching this video. And hence the question arises, why is it that we are not able to take in any easy content that we study? Whatever we study, it should just go into our memory, sit there, and when we want to retrieve it, it should come out. Then why is it doesn't happen? I went to my teacher. I was struggling on a concept. I tell him that I'm not able to do the questions of this particular concept. I just really find it hard. A typical answer in such situation comes from the teacher. It says that just work hard, practice more. Okay, I took the advice, I practiced more. I couldn't still solve it. I again went to my teacher, sir, you asked me to practice more, I practiced more, I still do not understand it, I am still not able to solve questions. Well, work harder, practice even more. I did practice again and again and again. So does it mean that you just practice makes you perfect? You keep practicing, keep doing the same mistakes, and again you find yourself in the same position and nothing really works. So I asked my teacher, sir, you asked me to practice. I have given 12 hours of a day. I cannot practice anymore. And still I'm not able to do it. So what is the real problem? He says, well, then if you have practiced hard enough, then maybe your brain, maybe you may not be able to do it because you do not have that kind of a brain. I said, well, you asked me to practice. I practiced. One of my friend who doesn't even practice that much, he just practiced 1/5 of mine. He's able to score really well. He's able to, understand the concept. So what is going on? Well, he has a higher IQ than you. He's more intelligent than you. You need to work hard. I said, I'm working hard. Okay. So then intelligence is more than hard work is what he wanted to interpret. What is intelligence? How do I become intelligent? Can I become intelligent so that I have to spend really less time? And what does really intelligence mean? And then I looked at some research papers and I found out that it's the gray matter in your brain. And it's not everywhere. The gray matter in your brain should be at certain specific positions which allows you to do certain activities. So for example, if I'm playing cricket, there is a different gray matter in different places of my brain that can really make me good at cricket, my motor skills. And there is a different sort of gray matter in different other places of my brain which will help me do better with my concepts, with my mathematics, with my science, etc. Now the question arises, okay, fine, he has more gray matter, I have less gray matter, but then people sometimes practice and they become better, they become good. So that means gray matter is getting influenced by the practice. But when I practice, it didn't work. So then maybe practice has some amount of, influence on the gray matter, but not 100% influence on the gray matter. So yes, practice is helping out somebody, but may not be helping out in complete sense, right? Does that make sense? Maybe yes. Now I have so much memory. 2.5 million gigabytes. So why is it really difficult? Again, the question arises, why doesn't it just go sit there, and why am I not able to retrieve it? So the answer to this question that I found in the research was that, well, you have so much memory, but whenever you learn something, it doesn't go inside your memory in first go. It first sits in your procedural memory, or working memory, or a short-term memory. So what is short-term memory? You can consider it as a USB drive. So suppose if you want to just copy paste something, some small things, you just put it in a USB drive. You do not put it in your hard drive. Now the brain works in a similar fashion. Everything that comes to the mind, if everything keeps going into your long-term memory, then you will remember what you have eaten 1 week back in the afternoon. Do you remember that? You don't remember what you've had for lunch 7 days back, right? So every junk information will just sit in our long-term memory and it will be of no use. So what the brain does is it puts the memory into your short-term memory and then it randomly chooses as to which memory should sit in the long term memory. Now, how do you emphasize enough that this is important, this is not? How do you tell your brain that this important information must sit in my long term memory, but this piece of junk information should not sit? So, brain takes its own, randomness, decides and does that. But there are ways to do it, which I'm going to tell you in this video. Okay. Now, first thing is it goes into procedural memory, then it goes to your long-term memory, and there is a process in which this happens. This process needs to be smooth, otherwise you will just forget everything which was there in the procedural memory, and then you will never be able to retrieve it. So for example, when we go into the exams and we study one day before the exam, that information sits in our procedural memory or in our short-term memory. But when we actually go back and when we do the exam, we forget everything. Or maybe if we have given one exam, even if we are able to remember the next day everything about the exam, if we go further after 3 or 4 months, we have just forgotten it because it has only gone into the short-term memory. So the first part is very clear that the information that sits in the short-term memory must go into the long-term memory efficiently, as effectively as possible. Now the second challenge, even though you have 2.5 trillion gigabytes of memory, the second challenge that you face is retrieving it. Okay, retrieving it as in you have information sitting somewhere in your brain, but when it comes to the exam, when you're trying to think about what could be the solution, you're thinking, but you're not able to find that information. So it's very similar to a computer. Suppose you have created a folder where you have put some information, but you do not know where that folder exactly is in your computer. Now you keep searching, and you're not able to find out. And sometimes you are able to find out. So that is why when you come back from exam, when you're sitting at home, all of a sudden it clicks and you are able to remember, oh, that was the answer. Because then your brain is working in the background and it is able to find out what that information was. So even though you have so much memory, the problem is how do you put information from short-term memory to long-term memory? And the second problem is how do you retrieve that information fast enough? So essentially, a genius is a person who is able to put the information in the memory correctly, and then he is able to not only retrieve the information, he is able to create such combination of information that when it comes out, it is like something people have never seen. So Albert Einstein, being a genius, what did he do? He had so much information about physics, etc. And the combination of it somehow gave him ideas which, came out as theory of relativity, or E is equal to mc squared. So the combination of information, flow of information needs to be efficient, combination needs to be there, and then the information inside needs to go there. So what exactly is working for you? Why exactly it is happening? And how any dumb person who does not have that gray matter, create that gray matter to be able to do it. So while this is a really vast topic, and we will have upcoming videos about how it happens, but I have to give you two key takeaways here. First one is that you keep practicing, but nothing is happening because you are not taking the feedback of what's going wrong. I have played at least 10,000 chess games. I enjoy playing chess, but I have not become a grandmaster. There are lots of cricketers who are practicing more than Virat Kohli, but they have not become Virat Kohli. The reason why that is happening is we are doing the same thing again and again. We are making the same mistakes again and again, and we need to get over those mistakes. Understand exactly on the steps that we are going wrong and correct them. Correct them again and again. So practice doesn't make you perfect. It's the deliberation in the practice and the feedback that makes you perfect. There is in fact a study that you don't even have to practice physically. You can practice in your brain, and you will see if somebody doesn't practice at all, he sees no result. But if you practice just in your brain and not even on pen on paper, you will see at least 40% improvement. If you actually practice on pen and paper, you see 90% improvement. So what is happening in your brain is you are able to practice, but you're not getting the feedback. If you somehow get that feedback, you become even better. So the key takeaway here is that whatever you practice, whatever goes wrong, be very critical about what is going wrong. What exam, whenever you give an exam, test is done. Okay, I have got this marks. It just goes away. You have to figure out what went wrong. Everything needs to be corrected. Every question that you couldn't do well, you have to really become very critical, understand it in and out, maybe practice similar questions 10 or 15 times to really solidify that learning. And that's how practice really makes you perfect. Now, the second thing that I want to tell you is memory retrieving. Okay, you're not able to retrieve the memory. How do we make this process really efficient, that the short term memory goes into long term memory very fast, and from long term memory you are able to retrieve very fast? How do we do that? We do that exactly how we do it in the computer. We make a random folder in the computer and we forget it. We don't remember where it is. But if we create a proper structure, so this video is for my new channel, so new channel folder, and then this video is about memory and making you a genius, so that folder, and inside that there is a video. If I know the structure, if there is a structure, there is a connection, then I will be able to retrieve that information from my computer. Similarly, when I learn anything which settles in my long-term memory, if I am able to build a connection between my information that is there in my brain and other existing information that is there in my brain, then it will be really good. What do I mean by this? So there's also a video in which I have done a similar and used a similar technique. I'll place the link in the description as to how you use the existing information to build connections so that you are able to retrieve information efficiently. So basically, whenever you learn something, try to connect it with the real world examples and the information that is already existing in your system. So for example, if you're learning, let's say, electric potential, now you can connect that with potential energy concepts which are very similar, and then you will be able to understand electricity even better. There are so many other examples. Do watch the video that is there in the link and you will understand how I've built those connections to actually recover information in my memory. So these are the two tips. Now there are thousands more. There are some very, very critical and important information coming up on this channel as to how you can make it even more efficient and really become a genius. So stay tuned and please do subscribe. Hope you like this video. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.